So today we are going to be tackling my single shadows. Now this consists of products that are in stick and liquid form like you're seeing in this little container here. It also consists of potted cream products, of pigments, of glitters, pressed single shadows. So pretty much anything that I would put on my eye in single format is included in this. I am going to be doing my ColourPop singles in a different video. That is the one exception that you're not seeing here is any of those ColourPop shadows, but look for that in a different video. Similar to last videos, we are going to lay everything out. We're going to go through them one by one. We're going to swatch them and we're going to decide what should stay and what should go. So so here are all of my cream eye bases that are in potted form, and I've accumulated quite a lot of them, a couple of them for reasons of review, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, but I do love cream products like this. I love them for underneath eyeshadows to intensify a base. I love them on their own for a really quick, easy look. So I do really enjoy this type of product, but I will admit that I know I've got duplicate colors and some formulas that probably have seen their last day, so it's time to pass them along. Let's go ahead and start with this back row here. First up is this shade Galaxy Way. This is by Fiona Styles. This is an interesting formula. It has a little stopper on the top here, and it's like a liquid sort of gel formula in here. And I have to do this with a brush. It is massively pigmented, and I was hoping that it was going to be more taupey on my eye, but it's very dark and very bronze. Once it sets, it really does lock into place. I just found like it was too dark on my eyes, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. Next up, this is new to my collection. This is actually from City Color. It's a mousse eyeshadow, and this is in the shade, I have no idea what shade this is. I can't even tell. It's a little tricky to get into because it's got this plastic cover on it. Yikes! I have not really played around with this much. Mousse-like consistency. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this one. I have not used it yet, so I'm going to hang on to it mostly because I just feel like it's such a strange formula. I don't quite know what to make of it. Next up is this Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize in Marie Antoinette. This is one that I'd wanted for quite a while. This is also, it's a cream, but it's a very lightweight cream. It's not very thick the way that you think of like the Maybelline Color Tattoos. This is a stunning, warm, taupey bronze shade. I love this color. I think it is absolutely stunning. I love this on the eyes. It lasts all day. It's one of those ones where you can put it on, blend it out, and it looks like you've tried really hard, but in reality, it made your eye look like you spent a ton of time on it when in reality you didn't. So I love this. Definitely hanging on to this. Okay, next up, these 8 here actually are from e.l.f. And I wanted to quickly highlight how these are different. These 4 are their long-lasting lustrous shadows. And then these are their smudge pots. Let's see, I'm gonna grab this gold and this sort of bronze shade so you can really see the difference between them. So this is the e.l.f. Long Lustrous Shadow in, put it on the screen, it doesn't actually have a sticker. These are more like a ColourPop shadow as far as how they feel, so they're a little bit more moussey. And then these actually have what I would consider to be a hefty amount of glitter in the shadow, so they look very metallic. Now the nice thing is with these, they don't have any fallout whatsoever. So once they go on your eye, they lock down and they just look really shiny and really metallic. Smudge pots, on the other hand, are more consistent with what you would expect in a creamed shadow. They are just creamy. There is no glitter in them. They are metallic, but without the glitter. And hopefully you can see the difference between those there in the swatch. The smudge pot I just put on is Back to Basics, which is a really pretty bronze shade, but both of these will lock down and not budge. It really just depends on whether or not you like a more glittery look or a more metallic look. I've got 2 sort of plummy purple colors here. So this first one here is also without a name. I hate e.l.f. for that. Oh, here it is. This is the shade Soiree, and this has I would say a silver micro glitter running through this sort of cranberry color. And then this is the shade Wine Not, and that is just a very pretty maroon. So far, I actually like all these colors. These are colors that I would gravitate towards in this form. So I think these four are staying. This is the shade Gala, and this is actually probably closer to that Wine Not shade, maybe a little more brown. That is beautiful too. I really like that. And then last in this one is Party. And this is a dark black color. Yeah, and this one I just don't see myself wearing, if I'm being totally honest. So I'm going to pass this one along. The last two over here are Brownie Points, which is this copper shade. And it is a pure copper. I mean, a gorgeous metallic copper. And then this is the shade Cruisin' Chic. And that's pretty too. I think I'm going to set this aside just because I don't want to keep the same color pot in like a zillion different colors. So here I think is the ultimate decision. I'm going to put Cruisin' Chic, this sort of taupey shade here, to the side. I am going to keep these three because I think these Long Lasting shadows are gorgeous. Alright, so the shades Gala, Soiree, and Toast are going to stay in my collection. Wine Not is beautiful. I like that. That is going to stay. So I think this shade in Back to Basics may also be a shade that I have duplicated in my collection many times over. So I'm going to set this aside. So I'm setting Back to Basics and Cruisin' Chic aside for the time being, just to see if I have anything else like it in my collection. And then this copper one is gorgeous, but I also, this is the shade Brownie Points. I think it is stunning, but I think I've got ColourPop shadows that are about this color that I would reach for before I reach for this. So I think I'm going to pass this one on. I have one of the, this is the Ulta Color Coat Cream eyeshadows. This is the shade Rose Gold. These were new for them for spring, and I picked this up because I didn't think I had a pink shade quite like this, and I'm still not sure I do in my collection. I think that is a beautiful pink. So I am going to go ahead and hang on to this. This formula is definitely more of the consistency of the Maybelline Color Tattoos, but I do like it. So I own 3 MAC paint pots. I used to own Soft Ochre, but I passed it on to my friend because it was just too yellow of a base for me. So this is the shade Indian Wood, and this is just this very pretty bronze gold color. And then this is the shade Groundwork. I love this matte shade because this is one that I will just blend all over my eye and smudge out. It is a matte paint pot, but it just is really good on days where I want a little bit of color and I just want to keep it very simple. This is the shade Stormy Pink, which it's not pink at all. It really is a plum color. And I like this under purple eyeshadows. Purple and plum eyeshadows when I really want to intensify a look. So I do really like having these two in my collection, both to wear on their own and then also to intensify a different eye look. I'm wondering how close Indian Wood is to Back to Basics from e.l.f. Those I think are pretty much dupes. So I'm going to pass along the e.l.f. one, but there's a dupe for you. If you've been looking at Indian Wood from MAC but don't want to pay for it, pick up Back to Basics from e.l.f. because that is the same ding dong shade. So let's look at these color tattoos from Maybelline. I have quite a few of these, and there's a couple that I know right off the bat I want to keep. One is probably my favorite shade in Bad to the Bronze. I use this all the time by itself. It's a bronze shade, but it's definitely more taupey, not quite as warm, more of a true neutral. Probably my favorite cream pot out of maybe my favorite one out of all of them, if I'm going to be honest. So this one is hands down staying. I use this all the time. But I did want to compare it to this one in Cruisin' Chic from e.l.f. because I was wondering if they were dupes. And they are. Maybe the e.l.f. one is a little more rosy. They are pretty much the same, so I don't need to keep both of them. I'm going to pass the e.l.f. one on. I know it's cheap versus cheaper, but if you did want to save, I do like the e.l.f. formula, so save some money, get the e.l.f. one if you don't think you're going to use these a lot and you're worried about them going bad. So, okay, so let's look at one I know I'm not going to keep. This is the shade Edgy Emerald, and I thought I was going to use this underneath green bases, but I just never did, and I don't see myself reaching for this. It's a little thinner. Yeah, I just don't see myself using this color, so Edgy Emerald is going to get passed on. I also am not sure about this straight up white one. This is a white pearl in the shade, oopsie, I think I got those mixed up. Give me a second, guys. I think I mixed up the caps and therefore the names. All right. So what I was starting to say, and then I realized I had this cap on the wrong one, is this pearly white shade. This is actually shade 05 Too Cool. It's getting a little older, and I just don't see the need for a sheer sort of wash of white pearl. I would rather use a pure white stick if I want to intensify an eyeshadow, and I don't see myself wearing this one on its own, so that's going. Also not sure about this shade. It's barely branded. It's shade number 70. Just getting a little dried out. This is one I would buy again, to be totally honest, because it's a very pretty pearl, but it's too dried out. Next up is this pink shade, and this is the shade Inked in Pink, number 55. But I think I like the shade, the rose gold shade that came from this Ulta one better, and I think I would reach for that over this. The tone is just a little more neutral, a little less pink, so I like this Ulta one better, and I think I'm going to pass this Maybelline pink one on. Alright, this gold one I do think I want to keep. It is the shade Bold Gold, number 45. I think it's really pretty, although I do want to compare it to this Revlon one here in a minute, so I will probably choose between the two of them, but I do like Bold Gold. And then this one is a matte shade. It's called Creamy Beige. Curious how this actually compares to Groundwork from MAC. That is MAC Groundwork there, and this is the Paint Pot in Creamy Beige. I don't think they're 100% the same. I think Creamy Beige is a little deeper and a little more taupe, and this one's a little bit warmer and lighter. I think they're similar enough that I would only reach for one over the other, so I'm going to keep Groundwork, and I'm going to pass along Creamy Beige. Okay, last but not least, in the cream pot shadows are the Revlon Color Stays. These came out this spring. Real quickly, I did want to check out this shade, which is 725, and I want to compare this to the Color Tattoo. This is the Revlon one here. It's a lot more sheer, and the Maybelline one is a lot stronger, so I'm going to keep this Maybelline one. This shade here is probably one of my favorites. This is 710, and this is another one of those sort of bronzy taupe shades, but it is stunning. It's got great pigmentation, lasts on the eye all day. Love it. This is the shade 740. It is a smoky plum color. Beautiful. Now this one is a little more sheer, but it's still got good pigmentation. Another one I really like is 730. This is more of your rose gold. Once again, it's a little sheer. That bronze color 710 is definitely probably the most pigmented out of all of them, but it's pretty. 705 is sort of your classic champagne color, and right now I don't have anything else like this in my collection, and thankfully this is one of the more pigmented shades, kind of like that bronze shade. 745 is a sort of a baby pink color, and this one is definitely more sheer. 735 is a really interesting olive that's not like anything else in my collection, and that one's got nice pigmentation to it as well. And then 715 is one of the, I think the only matte shades they have, and this is another shade that's kind of like MAC Groundwork. It's pretty, but once again, I think once you have Groundwork, I don't know as if you need it. Champagne would definitely stay. This purple and the green, just because I think they're really interesting. This pink and this gold would go. As with this matte, just because I've already got Groundwork. If not, I would keep it. I would keep this rose gold. So I would keep these three and get rid of the other ones. Okay, so now we're going to go through my single eyeshadows and pigments and glitters and things like that. So here is a bunch of drugstore single shadows. One thing I wanted to address real fast is a cream product that I missed. This is a Butter London, what do they call these? Glazing Eyeglosses in Oil Slick. This is so cool. First of all, it's like a jelly. The color is like this amazing duochrome sort of rust color with a blue teal shift. It's so cool. I love this shade, so that is going nowhere. Let's start with these. These are the L'Oreal singles. This is their Color Riche single shadows. These sort of metallic shades here. These, this is Sunset, color 202, and Green Promenade 212. They look really pretty when you first look at them, and they actually swatch fairly well also. But I can't get these two to apply on my eye to save my ding dong life. Max Fix Plus, putting them on with the finger. I just find that the formula is very thin. just doesn't work very well. So I'm going to pass these two along. On the flip side, the mattes, this is the shade Cafe au Lait 203 and 201 Little Beige Dress. The mattes go on incredibly well. They're very easy to blend. This is an absolute dupe for the shade in the Kat Von D Shade and Light eye palette. It's the middle sort of larger shade. I'll put it up here on the screen, but this is a straight up dupe for that. And then this is just a beautiful sort of peachy transition shade if you've got fair skin. So I'm going to hang on to both of these. This, you guys might not even realize this, but CoverGirl did, or still does, single shadows. This is the shade 235. It's a really pretty sort of seafoam mint green shade, but it's just a little thin. Not quite as much pigmentation as I would want, so I'm going to pass that one along. Another one I think I'm going to pass along is this Pixie by Petro Duo. I think this came in one of my subscription boxes, and I kept it because I thought the shades were really unique, and they are. I just don't necessarily reach for them. I have a lot of shades that sort of pretty bronze color, and then the purple that came together was a little faded for me, for my tastes, so I think somebody else will get a lot more use out of this. I'm going to pass that along. Let's look at these two e.l.f. ones. These are their baked shadows. We've got the shade Bark, which is this sort of dark brown, and Toasted. And these are ones that you definitely want to rub off the top layer before you attempt to use them. You can use them wet or dry. They are really pretty, so I don't think they're bad shadows. But here's the thing. While I don't think these are bad, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy them, they are just a little redundant to my collection. All right, so let's talk about these two. These are also two products that I picked up on the Walgreens website. They are from the brand Amon. And this is the shade Pewter and Safari. Pigmentation is really nice on them. But once again, maybe a little powdery, but they're just not unique enough for me to want to hang on to them or reach for them in my collection. So I'm going to pass these two along. All right, let's talk about this. This is Catrice Glam Fusion eyeshadow, and this is in the shade Insta Glam. This is almost got sort of a cream to powder finish to it. It's definitely one you'd want to apply like your with your finger, almost like a ColourPop shade. I don't know as if I've given this one quite enough love. I think it's getting lost in my collection, and I do think it's a very pretty metallic, so this one I'm going to hang on to. These are the two Catrice Liquid Metal shades that I own. These are the shades Under Treasure and We Are the Champagnes. We Are the Champagnes is this color here, and it's a really pretty sort of rose gold. And then this is a gorgeous sort of taupe shade. These are actually really pigmented, really easy to apply, wet or dry. I can see myself reaching for both of them. So for the time being, I am going to hang on to them. All right, let's look at these for Essence shadows next. This is the Essence Metal Glam. This is Coffee to Glow. And, oh, well, check that out. Nice. And this is Golden Up. I thought these were going to be more metallic. They definitely come with an overspray. They just feel a little chunky and a little thin. These are just the Essence eyeshadows in the Grammy Goes Glammy, which I've heard a lot of people talk about. And then this is All I Need. So the Grammy Goes Glammy is actually a shade you could absolutely wear as a highlighter. It's this beautiful pearl shade, blends out gorgeously. I think if you have fair skin, this is a perfect highlighter, but it's also great over the eye. And then this one is just a smidge deeper, more of a taupey shade. I really enjoy both of these though. These are also ones that I've reached for when traveling. I do like both of these. All right, so this is a Palladio Crushed Metallic Eyeshadow. This is just a really pretty peach shade, and it's a little deeper than anything I have in my palette. It's a very pretty sort of metallic pearl color. I do actually really enjoy this shade. I think it applies beautifully. So I am going to go ahead and hang on to this one. Okay guys, sorry, my battery cut out on me. So just opening up these NYX Baked shadows here. This gold shade is Ghetto Gold. It's not bad, just feels very thin. The formula on this just feels like there's not a lot to it. Is Sugar Babe. No, this is the shade Easy Rider, and then this last shade is Euphoria. No, I just don't care for this formula. I used these two lighter shades as inner corner highlights and on the lid for a while, but they're just very sheer, so I'm going to pass these four along. These Too Faced doesn't even make anymore. These were eyeshadow duos. I got this because this is the shade Rich Bitch, and it's this sort of duochrome combo of like a gold and sort of a blue gold duochrome. I just never reached for this. It's old, so I'm going to pass this along. This is the shade Socialite. It was probably my favorite shade that they put out. Try and open this without... It's completely shattered. This is the most beautiful copper that leans very, very rose gold. I don't know how well that's going to pick up on camera. It's so shiny. But this shade was just gorgeous. I loved this with my blue eyes, but it is shattered. It's super old, so that one's going to get passed on. And by passed on, I mean thrown out in that case. And then this was when they were doing the Too Faced Couture. This is the shade Label Whore. These names. This is one of those traditional sort of blue browns that goes more teal. That color is just stunning. I'm not ready to part with this one yet. It's really old, but I don't even care. It's gorgeous. Okay, so these two are drugstore, but they're harder to find. This is from the brand Prestige, and this is their Total Intensity True Metals eyeshadow. One is just a really strong sort of copper penny shade, and then the other, and that is the shade Copper, and this is the shade Pewter. These are incredibly buttery and metallic. Like, holy crap. These are just so underrated. Like, insta pigmentation, so metallic. I love both of these shades. So I'm going to hang on to both of them. Okay, so next up are two Burberry shades that I spent a number of dollars on. This is the shade Pale Barley. I got this because it is a cult classic that everybody raved about, especially a lot of British beauty bloggers. And then this is the shade Nude, number 2. This one is more of a metallic. So Pale Barley is more of a satin and Nude is more of a metallic. Pale Barley is just one of those like easy everyday shades, and then Nude is just this seriously metallic shade. I love these taupey colors on my eyes as single shadows. I really like the formula of both of them. I understand why, especially Pale Barley is a cult classic when you have fairer skin, so both for the money I paid for them as well as the fact that I do like both of these are staying. Bobbi Brown shade, I think I got at a CCO, but it is the shade Heather Mauve, and it's got glitter in it, and it's the only Bobbi Brown shadow I own, and I'm just not impressed with it. Maybe that's why it was at the CCO. So I'm going to pass this one on. This shade is from Manna Kadar. It's the only single shadow I have. It's in the shade Fantasy. I love this color. This is one that I frequently will put in my travel bag. It is just the most beautiful rose gold metallic. Love it. And then Steal a Kitten is a single that I own. It's a very famous shadow. It's just this perfect sort of champagne color. I love both of those. I do reach for them as single shadows, so I'm going to hang on to them. And then this Becca shadow here is ancient, and I probably need to get rid of it. Eye Color Powder in Chinchilla is this gorgeous sort of satin gray shade. I did really love this all over my eyes for gray, but it's just is too old, so that one's got to go. These are two Clinique shadows that I picked up at the CCO as well. This, in fact, I don't think has even been touched or swatched. Yeah, one's a silver and one is a green. They're just a little thin. I don't know. I picked them up because they were cheap and I wanted to try Clinique single shadows. Not my thing. They're going. All right, so let's look at these two NARS ones. This is the shade Tarvos. This is part of the NARS Dual Intensity line. And this is a really unique shade to my collection. It is kind of this like silver mint green shade. I don't know how much the green is going to pick up, but in real life it is kind of this like seafoam mint green. I do love this formula. It's absolutely stunning. And then this is one of the NARS. This is one of the metallic ones. This is the shade Pygar. This one was like insanely metallic, and it was this really interesting sort of antique gold / silver shade. It was just really unique. It was not entirely gold, it was not entirely silver, but it was definitely more antiqued. I just thought it was a really unique and interesting shade. These two are staying. These are MAC Extra Dimension eyeshadows. I have a few MAC shadows in my single metallic palette, but these cannot be popped out of the little MAC cases, which is why they stay here. The purple is a shade called Smoky Mauve. The imprint looks different because I got this as part of Holiday, but this is a color that you can pick up year round. So it's this really pretty dusty mauve color. And then this is Silver Sun, which is a really cool sort of green silver color that I think is just really unique, a lot of fun to wear. So I am going to keep both of these for sure. I do really love this formula. And then this is a MAC shadow that I'm torn on. So this is called Cosmic Clash. It was limited edition. It's part of their Spellbinder shadow, but it really looks like velvet. It's kind of a tough formula to work with. It just kind of shears out quite a bit. It's got kind of a black base to it. It's somehow metallic in the true sense of the word. Like if you were to rub a magnet over the top of this, you would actually see the little waves kind of go like this. So I think it's a unique product. It's just not a color that I'm going to reach for. And then it just really looks dusty and sheer with the black base on my hand. So I think I'm going to pass this one along. Okay, so here are pigments, this random little steel foiled thing, and then some glitters. I don't have a ton of these. I don't wear a ton of glitter, not in this format. There's other ways that I prefer to apply glitter if I'm going to. And loose pigments and shadows are just not my favorite thing of life. That's just my preference. I know a lot of people are gaga for pigments. Let's start with this. This is the Stila Magnificent Metals Foil Finish Eyeshadow. It comes with a shadow, kind of, this little pan, and then a mixing medium, which I am pretty much out of. So you basically use the end of a brush or something to pick some of this foiled product out of this container, put it in the little tray with some mixing medium, and then put it on your eyes. And the result is something, let's see if I can do this without doing it. It's a very flaky product, but the result literally looks wet on your lid. And I just think this is such a cool product. I do enjoy this. This is a very pretty copper shade. This is the shade Comet Copper. I'm going to hang on to that. These two here are from Bare Minerals. The first one here is Celestial, and you'll laugh. There's pieces of tape on the top of this for a reason, because there is no like sifter blocker, and if you travel with this or toss this around, it really makes a mess, but it doesn't blow me away pretty. This Bare Minerals one in Surprise has made it through a couple of declutters I did that I didn't film, because it is this really pretty purple shade. It's like a periwinkle purple, and I find this shade to be kind of difficult to do. I may hang on to this one, but you can see what I mean about being just a hot mess. One that I will keep, even though it is ancient, is from MAC. It is a super old pigment. This is in the shade Steel Blue, and this is a great example of a shade just being completely unique. A blue that has a gold shift to it. So I would say it's probably like it's a duochrome, because it kind of shifts between a green gold and this really pretty sort of steely blue. That one's gonna stay. Dive into this one here. This is a Color Tattoo Pure Pigments. I think these have been discontinued. It's okay. It's not super pigmented or super metallic. It's a little sheer. I'm gonna pass that one along. This is a Naked Cosmetics one. I do really like this. It is a very pretty rose gold shade. It is pretty, but it's more of like a satin, not a metallic, if that makes sense. I mean, it's definitely shiny, but it's not what I would consider to be like uber metallic. I do want to compare it to these two Wet n Wild shadows. This is the loose pigment in Heart of Rose Gold. It was part of the Christmas line, and that is, to me, a pure metallic pigment. That is just so well done on their part. The other shade that I kept, because I had all 4 of them and I decluttered 2 of them already, this is the shade Dom and Cherry on top. Yeah, this is more of a true sort of brass gold versus rose gold. If I'm being totally honest though, I definitely think I like these two from Wet n Wild more for what they are. And that Naked Pigment one is okay. But if I'm going to reach for loose rose gold shadow, it's probably going to be this Wet n Wild one over the Naked one. So I'm going to keep the 2 Wet n Wild. I'm going to pass on the Naked one. This is from Makeup Geek. It's the only pigment that I own from them, but is in the shade Gargoyle. I watched Kathleen Light's swatch video of these, and Gargoyle just called my name. Sort of taupey bronze color that I think is seriously, I mean, is incredibly metallic. And I think the bronze shade itself is just really gorgeous all over the lid. Incredibly smooth. I like the sifter action she's got going here. So I am really happy to have this one in my collection. Here are my glitters, and I feel like I just need to be honest with myself on how often I am going to wear them. This one, I don't even know where it came from. It's sort of a pink hollow. This one came with the Too Faced, remember, it came with a Too Faced set. And this is a really pretty champagne. And then these two are ones that I got in, this is from the brand Diamond Dust. And these are two that I got in my Ricky's New York box. Oh, LA Splash makes these. Don't think I'm going to use this copper. I'm going to pass that along. I don't think I'm going to reach for this. Pass that along. I'm going to hang on to these two for the time being. All right, I've zoomed you in a little bit closer on these. This is my L'Oreal Infallible Single Shadows. I clearly have an addiction to these, and I do want to evaluate whether or not I want all the shades that I do have here. These are as good as any high-end shadow that you can find. I absolutely love them. Here on the left, this is the shade Dive Right In. This was limited edition. It is sort of a mermaid blue shade. This one is metallic, but it's definitely sheer. It's very pretty. I don't think I have anything else like it in my collection. This is the shade Golden Sage. This is just a really pretty, I would say, olive green shade. And then the other green shade I have is Gilded Envy, which is one of the shades that I feel like everyone should own. So this is the shade Gilded Envy. And it's sort of a greeny bronze shade. If I'm being totally realistic right now, Gilded Envy is going nowhere. This green shade, I've had a really hard time finding good greens to put into my Z palette that I like, and I have been looking. So I do want to keep that. This blue one is pretty, but do I see myself using it? Probably not. Blue, I think I'm going to put over in my no pile. All right, so let's look at these purples here. So this shade here is 759 Burst into Bloom. I think this was spring a few years ago. It is stunning purple. This is the shade With a Twist. I think this was part of the same line. And this is a purple that has almost a blue shift to it. But I think you're going to want a base to it to really make that duochrome pop. But I also know that purple is a difficult shade to do, and this is kind of that purple blue shade. And then last up is the shade Liquid Diamond, and this is a duochrome sort of silvery purple shade, and that's really unique too. Dag nabbit. Having a hard time wanting to pass with these really unique shades. I don't think I'm going to right now. I think these all three are staying. All right, next row. Let's look at these three. So this is a matte. This is called Endless Pearl. It's a matte. That one I can part with. I'm not going to feel too bad about that. This is the shade Iced Latte. This is going nowhere. This is stunning. Probably one of the prettier champagne shades at the drugstore. It is gorgeous all over the lid. That is going nowhere. And then this is the shade Eternal Sunshine 977. This is your more classic gold shade here. And that is just beautiful. Love it. Not going anywhere. All right, so let's look at these three. This is one called Gleaming Bronze 408. I believe this is a discontinued shade as well. It is a really interesting sort of olive khaki green. Look how pretty that is. That is just so cool. Love that. And then this is Bronzed Taupe. This is a shade I have worn the absolute heck out of. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous taupey brown shade. All right, this last shade here is the shade Bottomless Java 800. So this is a deep, deep brown color. You can see that. I do feel like I have a bunch of shades like this in my Z palette, and I don't think I'm reaching for this one a ton, so I do think I may pass this one on. Oh, look at me being good. But those first two are definitely staying. All right, so let's look at these warmer shades here. This I know is discontinued. This is called Cherie Marie. It is 343. It's this very pretty sort of warm coral color, but it leans definitely more of a bright orange color, and I don't have a lot like this in my collection. So I'm leaning towards keeping this one. Next up is Pink Sapphire 405. And this one is sort of a salmon pink. No, I lie, not salmon-y enough. It really is sort of a baby pink shade. And then this is Amber Rush. This is the one that everybody goes nuts over, and with good reason. It is the most perfect rose gold of life. So those are those four shades there. Yeah, I just can't quite part with these warm colors, to be totally honest. I think they're just really pretty. So yeah, these are gonna stay. Okay, last up are sort of my silvers and my gray here. So this is the shade Silver Sky $7.57. I do really love how bright of a silver that this is. It does have a decent amount of glitter in it. This is one I would definitely probably put over something. This is Primed and Precious. This one is very, very metallic. And this is about the only gunmetal silver shade that I own. And then this is Sultry Smoke 998, and I think this is a matte, and it's pretty, but I feel like I've got plenty of grays in palettes that I could use. Okay, here's the deal. This bright silver shade, I know I have a Super Shock shadow that is this shimmery and this glittery that is going to stay on place over top of the base or on its own. So I think I'm going to pass this along because I know I love that shade and have it. This matte gray is pretty, but I don't love this formula in mattes as much as I do in metallic, and I don't have a good sort of gunmetal gray shade, so I am going to keep Primed and Precious. Okay, I'm cheating a little bit because I don't necessarily want these rolling all over the place. These are all of my liquid and cream eyeshadows, and so I'm going to kind of go through these top to bottom and we'll see how that goes. Off the bat, I see two shades that are super similar to one another and also remind me a lot of one of the shades that I kept before in my L'Oreal. This is the Gilded Envy shade. These two colors remind me a lot of each other. This is a Bare Minerals, so it is a powder with this little wand, and it is pretty. I mean, it's a pretty intense shadow, but this is old. I don't think you can buy these anymore, and I just don't find myself reaching for this over the shade that I already had in the L'Oreal Infallible. So that is going to get passed along. This is one of the Maybelline Color Tattoo Eye Chromes, and this is a liquid, and it's pretty much the same color. It's not that it's thin. Thin's the wrong word. It's not thin. Do I think I'm going to reach for this? No. Let's do this because I think it is one of the same. This is a NYX, or same formula as that Bare Minerals. This is a NYC powder in silver. It is making a mess. Yeah, no. These are Marc Jacobs. These are Twinkle Pop shadows. I do like these. They've got the colors kind of at the top of the crayon here. I've got three colors. The first one here this is the shade On the Verge. Mauvey Dusty Plum color. By the way, these feel very cooling and gel-like on the eyes. They're fascinating. This is the shade Honey Bunny, a light pinky champagne color. 3 Shakes, which is a bronze color. Very intense, very pretty. I really do like these three from Marc Jacobs. I like the formula quite a lot. I think they're easy to blend. They lock into place. I love how metallic these two are, or all three of them are really. I'm going to hang on to the 3 of these. This is a little Bobbi Brown Longwear Cream Shadow. This is in the shade Golden Pink. It is more of a rosy gold color. If you can see that there. I do like this formula. It is a sample size, so I'm going to hang on to that. This is a Rimmel Scandalize in the shade Bluffing. This is a pretty taupe shade. Set this aside. I may keep that one. I want to see how it compares to some other sticks because I don't want to keep the same ones or similar colors even if I like the formulas. This is a Mally stick, and the packaging on this is kind of janky. This came in a box, but I think they saved money on packaging. This is in the shade Copper Rose. This is pretty. It's definitely more rose than the Bobbi Brown stick, so I do like that. This is a Total Intensity by Prestige pencil in Meteorite, and this is more gray. This one just feels like it's not blending very well. Feels kind of thick and choppy, so I'm going to pass this one along. This is a Bare Minerals Shadow Quickie. I love this formula. It reminds me a lot of the Marc Jacobs one. It is very similar to that Scandalized one from Rimmel, but I like this formula a lot better. It feels cooling. I don't know if they make these anymore, but the formula still feels great. So I think I'm going to pass this Rimmel one on and keep this Bare Minerals one. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Champagne Diamonds. Okay, so I've sharpened this Charlotte Tilbury one. This is in Champagne Diamonds. This is the shade that she made specifically for blue eyes, and it's a pink shade that has silver glitter in it. The problem I have right now is this is completely dried out. I got it finally to swatch a little bit so you can see what it looks like. This I only purchased at Christmas time, so this is only a few months old and it's already pretty much unusable. That makes me really sad. Kind of angry. moving on. Yes, yes. All right, let's grab this. This is the Bling Eyes from Etude House. Ooh, that is a dupe for the Bobbi Brown stick. That is the Bobbi Brown one there, and that is the shade Ivory Baby Star. That's what it is. So I'm going to pass this one on because I've got the Bobbi Brown one. Moving on, let's grab this little guy. This is a Rose Gold Caviar stick from Laura Mercier. That is also very similar to the Bobbi Brown, but this is the only Laura Mercier Caviar stick that I have, so I'm going to keep both of these. They're both sample size, but I want to have at least one of these for formula reference, so I'm going to hang on to both. All right, so these are Julep eyeshadows, and I like these because they come with a eye stick on one side and a smudger brush on the other. Olive Shimmer, that is really pretty. This is the shade Copper Shimmer, and then this is the shade Gunmetal. Do really enjoy the formula on these, but I don't think I see myself reaching for this Gunmetal one a ton, so I'm going to pass that one along and hang on to the Olive and the Copper shade. Here are the 4 LOC Tati eye pencils that came out. This first shade here is On Point. It is a really pretty sort of taupey silver color. And then this is the shade Impress Me, which is probably my favorite. Coppery Plum color is one of those shades you put on your eye, blend out, and it really looks like you tried very hard, and it's only one shade. This is Day Trip, which is a very bright sort of orangey gold color. And then the last shade is Night Owl, which is a plum. This is the one I probably use the least, just because it's so dark, but it is good to smudge under the lash line. I love this formula. I like the colors she picked. I'm going to hang on to all 4 of those. This is a Beauty For Real shadow stick in the shade Ever Starstruck, I think. This is probably the lightest one I have, and to me, this is one that I like to use in my inner corner. Maybe on my eye, but pretty much just my inner corner. Here's the other Tati one. Knew it. So this is a Gunmetal shade in the shade Smokescreen. Pretty. Will I wear this though? Well, I don't have any other smoky shades at this point, so I may hang on to this one. This is a little baby from Tressique. It is a khaki green or dark sort of olive green. I'm never gonna wear that. I'm gonna pass that on. Here are a couple that I picked up from Sephora. These are part of their waterproof ombre colorful shadow liners. This is a white shade. I think it's good to have a white milky shade to go underneath when you really want to brighten up, so I'm going to hang on to that. And then similarly, this is their waterproof matte black. So these are the 2 that are super creamy that you can blend out to lighten or darken an eye look. I like to have those as part of my collection. These are the Magnifies by Rimmel. They have a shadow stick on one side, and then they have a Kajal kind of kohl liner on the other, but it's really actually a cream. So this is my favorite one. This is the shade Kiss by a Rose. Sorry, it's on the cap. So this has a gorgeous rose gold sort of copper shade on one end, and then it's got a really pretty brown liner that you can put with it. This one is interesting. This is the shade Queens of the Bronzed Age. And this comes with a really pretty sort of reddish bronze color. And then it comes with a champagne gold kind of sparkly one, which is actually really pretty to go over the top. This one, I don't know about. So this is the shade Black Back to Blacks. And this has gray, although that is pretty. It has a glitter in it. That's gonna pick up. It has almost like a blue glitter in it. And then it has a black liner to go with it. I'm not gonna reach for this. It is cool though. And then last but not least in my stick formats, this is the Boots number 7 Stay Perfect Cool Mink. Very everyday wearable shade that I own. And I like this formula quite a bit. It's not quite as metallic. It's really good for every day. It's so easy to just slap on. I like this. I'm gonna hang on to it. All right, let's talk about these e.l.f. liquid shadows here. This is the shade Brushed Copper. This is Rose Gold. This is Liquid Gold. That's liquid gold there. And then this one is Molten Bronze. Honestly, I think if I'm going to use any of these, it's probably going to be that first shade. This bronze is just a little too liquidy for me. This gold, I don't know, it's just okay. This rose gold shade is more pink than rose gold. I think if I'm going to use any of them, it's going to be this champagne color as kind of an inner quarter highlight or on the eye a little bit. So I think I'm just going to keep this one. So this is a product that I don't hear anybody talking about. This is the CoverGirl Bombshell Shine Shadow. This is in the shade Copper Fling. I really like this. It's sort of a whipped consistency. I don't know how you can see that. And it blends out super intense. And once these lock into place, they don't budge, but the pigmentation on these is no joke. So I don't know why more people don't talk about these or use them, but I really enjoy this. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Paints. I wasn't really drawn to the collection with the exception of this shade here. This is in Cool Ivory, and it's basically two sort of champagne-y white shades, and I thought, oh, these could be pretty all over the lids or potentially lock in inner corner. So you can see you've got kind of a bright sort of silvery white and then a champagne gold there. I'm curious to see, now that I'm saying that though, this e.l.f. one, it's more rosy. But I don't think I need to keep both of these. I think I'm going to hang on to the L'Oreal one and pass the e.l.f. one along. I just didn't love this e.l.f. formula so much, and I think these ones are slightly more pigmented, so I'm going to do that. Touch and Soul Metalist Liquid Shadow. This is in the shade Talia. This is interesting. It has a cream shadow, liquid sort of cream shadow on one side that is super intense, and then it has a loose sort of pigment glitter on the other side that you can press over the top to get even more intensity and kind of this foiled effect. Thought this was beautiful all over the eye. There's another one that I kind of like in these as well that I might consider picking up, but I'm glad I have this one for sure, so I will be hanging on to it. And then last but not least, these are the Revlon Photo Eye Art. I've heard people have kind of a love-hate relationship with these. Okay, so it has a sort of liquidy cream on one side, and this is a beautiful taupe. This is probably my favorite one. This is the shade Topaz Twinkle, and then it's got this very pretty glitter on the other side that is actually kind of hollow. It's taupe, but it has hollow looking glitter to it, so it's got kind of green and gold and whatnot. I like these as glitter liners or over the top of this shadow. This is probably my favorite way to apply glitters, is in a clear base like this. I really do like having these in my collection rather. So this shade is beautiful. It is my favorite. It's going nowhere. This is a pretty copper shade, and I definitely prefer this formula of this copper over the e.l.f. one. And then I like having this sort of copper gold glitter on the other end. And I use these glitters on their own too. Just add a little bit of glitter to the eye sometimes. So I love that one. And then this is a green. This is the shade, came off the end, so I don't know what shade this is. I'll put it up on the screen. But this has got an olive green and then a gold. And this is part of the reason I keep this one, is so that I have a gold glitter that I can put on other things too, because I think the gold glitter also looks pretty on this, and I think it looks pretty on the copper. So I do really enjoy having these in my collection. I think these are the only three that I'm really interested in out of the ones that they make, but I do like having them, so I will be hanging on to all three of those. Quickly wanted to wrap up this video, show you kind of where things sit right now. So here is kind of how I've got things organized back into the little tray for the sticks and the creams. And then I've organized the single shadows. As you can see, these were completely full. These are now empty, so I'm going to have to kind of play around with these in the drawer. And then these are the cream potted ones here. This container here, which is really full, is what I am going to be passing along, seeing if friends and family want. If not, we'll be donating what can be donated. Essentially what I'm doing is getting rid of 42% of what I had here. So getting rid of 59. I am keeping 81. A huge reason I'm keeping a huge number of the products that are making up that 81 are these L'Oreal ones, which you guys saw I couldn't quite pass on. And then I really am a huge fan of the cream potted and cream stick format. I reach for these a lot. I really do like that formula on its own in conjunction with others, but I got rid of 45% of these and I got rid of 45% of my single shadows. So all in all, I'm feeling pretty good about this declutter. Could I go a little farther? Potentially. That wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Slowly but surely, we are working our way through the entire collection. It feels good. I hope you guys have a great day. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe. If you love declutter videos like this, there are more on their way, and I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. Bye.